Yeah, so this actually work is on emulating a chemical mechanism using machine learning algorithm, and Barry and myself has done this work. Can we go to the next slide, please? So the motivation, can you go to the next slide, please? Yes, the motivation behind this work is actually one of the work published by Marcel et al., and where they showed that, you know, if you apply machine learning algorithm on a bigger GPU, then the computational time is reduced. Can you go to the next slide, please? So in a typical air quality modeling system, actually, there is a chemical transport model, which basically takes a huge amount of computational time. And here the idea was with this scoping studies to just minimize that computational time using a machine learning algorithm. So there is a machine learning algorithm applied on a CV56 mechanism. Can you go to the next slide, please? So we have applied a supervised machine learning method here. And can you click on further? So that's the model which we have used here. It is 17-layer model based on neural nets. Can go to the next slide, please. So the idea was to replicate a chemical mechanism through machine learning and reduce the computational time expense. Can you go further? So there were two key objectives. One was to develop the algorithm and test it and model the result. And the second was to replace the chemical mechanism with the ML method and then perform the simulations. Can you go further? Go to the next, please. So these are a few results actually, which you can see. We have done samples of roughly about 10 million simulations we did for that. And you can see for concentration for carbon monoxide and the diurnal pattern. And you can clearly see that, you know, machine learning algorithm is, you know, able to replicate this CVMZ in a certain extent. Can go to the next slide, please. So we tested it over London, and here, if you see, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, that's the model which was actually how it was performing. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is actually one of the suggestion came actually, can we do it for all over Europe? If we can, then we have tested the model for the over Europe, which include basically all over the UK, right? And can we go to the next slide, please? And we found that, you know, roughly about 2 times time gain you get once you apply the machine learning algorithm onto that. Can you go further, please? And here is the data for satellite in the left-hand side, and the right-hand side, you can see the ML method actually, which has given a computational time roughly about half of the actual model simulation. And you can clearly see these, you know, patches of ammonia over UK are, you know, quite identical in terms. Can you go to the next slide, please? And then can you go to the next slide, please? And then here's the bias actually. So obviously, what it suggests basically that ML method, if you modify it properly and replace it with the actual chemical mechanism into the model, then you have reduced computational time and the computational cost. Can you go to the next slide, please? And final, which I would say here is the main outcome that if you see the black dot, that's the typical model which uses like WAF-Chem, the chemistry simulation into it. And the purple dot basically is the ML method, which has, and you can clearly see that they are almost equal. So, but you have gained a time and cost actually almost half of that using a typical, you know, WAF chemical model. Can you go to further, please? So obviously we will try to test it further and apply it for different, you know, extremes actually, just to test it how well does that model do in terms of like, you know, some of the air quality applications in terms of, you know, some air pollution episodes happening and other simulations as well. Thank you very much.